walked into a government ministry in Nairobi with a briefcase, a Swiss accent, and a name that didn't exist. Walked out with a signature worth $14 million. Then drove straight to a school in Kibera, handed a teacher an envelope, and watched children play chess in the dirt. Nobody connected those two things for 11 years. His name was Daniel Osei, and by every account that existed, he was just a chess coach. A good one. A beloved one. Kids in 5 countries knew his face. Parents trusted him with their children. Governments gave him awards. But at night, in hotel rooms across 3 continents, Daniel Osei became someone else entirely. 6 different people, actually. And what he did, what he pulled off for over a decade, was either the most sophisticated con in modern African history, or the most justifiable, depending on who you ask. Escalation. You have to understand where Daniel came from to understand why he did what he did. Accra, Ghana, 1989. His mother is a school teacher earning $40 a month. His father left when he was 3. The school Daniel attends has 60 kids per classroom, no textbooks, and a roof that leaks when it rains, which in Accra is often. But when Daniel is 14, something happens. A visitor comes to the school, a retired engineer from Kumasi. He sets up a chessboard in the courtyard. Daniel watches for 4 minutes, then sits down, and doesn't get up for 6 hours. Something fires in his brain that day that never stops firing. Chess isn't a game to Daniel. It's a language, a system, a way of seeing 12 moves ahead while everyone else is still looking at the board. He gets a partial scholarship to university, economics. He's the smartest student in his cohort by a distance. And then in his 3rd year, his mother can't make the fees. He drops out. No degree, no connections, no path. Just a chess set and a mind that the world has no use for. So he does the only thing that makes sense to him. He goes back to the streets and starts teaching kids for free. And here's what nobody expected. It works. Not just a little. Dramatically. Kids who learn chess stop getting into trouble. Grades go up. Dropout rates fall. A 14-year-old girl who hadn't spoken in class for 2 years starts beating adults at tournament level. Daniel isn't just teaching chess. He's rewiring how these kids think. He calls it thinking in futures. Every move has a consequence. Every decision echoes forward. He approaches the Ghanaian government for funding in 2001. They keep him waiting 4 hours, then send out a junior clerk to tell him there's no budget. He approaches an NGO in London. They say his model is inspiring, but lacks scalable metrics. He approaches a World Bank affiliate. They ask if he has a PhD. He doesn't. Meeting over. Daniel walks out of that last office, stands on a street in Accra, and makes a decision. A very quiet, very dangerous decision. If no one will fund the children, he will fund them himself. Here's where most people expect the story to turn dark. They expect greed, ego, a man who starts good and gets corrupted. That is not what happens. What Daniel does next is so methodical, so patient, so ruthlessly logical. It reads less like a crime and more like a chess game against 12 governments simultaneously. The board takes 8 months to set up. Daniel spends every day in libraries and internet cafes learning one thing: how bilateral development grants actually work. Not how they're supposed to work, how they actually work. And what he finds disturbs him, but also tells him everything he needs. Hundreds of millions of dollars in foreign development funds sitting in government accounts across sub-Saharan Africa and Eastern Europe. Allocated by donors, released to governments. Supposed to go to infrastructure, roads, schools, clinics. Instead, floating in accounts controlled by ministers who have no intention of spending a single dollar on roads, schools, or clinics. The oversight? Almost non-existent. The paperwork? Dense, bureaucratic, and rarely verified. The officials controlling the funds? Motivated almost entirely by one thing: appearing legitimate to foreign donors while extracting as much as possible for themselves. Daniel stares at this system for a long time. Then he picks up his pen. The Geneva Institute for Civil Infrastructure Development doesn't exist. But by March 2002, it does. A P.O. box in Zurich, a professional website, embossed letterhead, forged accreditation from two real but obscure Swiss regulatory bodies that Daniel gambles no one will actually call. He gambles correctly. He creates 6 identities. Dr. Henri Marchand, Senior Infrastructure Attaché. Calm, authoritative. Speaks in long sentences about fiduciary responsibility. Mr. Peter Voss, Legal Compliance Officer. Cold, detail-obsessed. The one who makes ministers nervous. Ambassador Claude Renard, the senior figure, only appears at the final stage of a negotiation. Rarely speaks. Doesn't need to. Each identity has a separate email. A separate phone number routed through a Zurich forwarding service. A separate personality that Daniel has rehearsed in hotel mirrors for months. He doesn't just learn a Swiss accent, he learns how Swiss bureaucrats move, how they hold a pen, how they pause before answering, how they make silence feel like authority. In November 2002, Daniel Osei boards a flight to Nairobi wearing a $600 suit he bought with his last savings. He has one meeting with a deputy minister controlling a $40 million bilateral infrastructure fund from a Scandinavian donor. The minister is nervous. The Scandinavian donors have been asking questions. He needs the fund to look active, to show disbursements, project allocations, third-party validation. Dr. Henri Marchand offers all 3, for a fee, payable to a Geneva account. The minister doesn't hesitate. He signs. The method. Here's the part that should keep you up at night. Because Daniel's method isn't complicated. It's not sophisticated technology or criminal networks or offshore banking wizardry. It's something far more unsettling. He exploits the fact that corrupt officials need to believe him. A clean official would verify everything. Call the Swiss embassy. Run a background check. Involve lawyers. But a corrupt official can't do any of that, because doing so would expose their own corruption first. Daniel understands this with terrifying precision. He only ever targets funds that are already being stolen. He only ever approaches officials who are already compromised. He is not stealing from governments. He is stealing from the people who are stealing from governments. And every dollar, every single dollar, goes back. New chessboards in Accra. A school roof repaired in Kampala. Scholarships in Harare. Teacher salaries in Lomé. He keeps nothing, not a watch, not a car, not a savings account. For 11 years, Daniel Osei lives in guest houses and eats cheap food and teaches chess to children in the morning. And at night, Dr. Henri Marchand closes another deal. Viral explosion. By 2008, the program has reached 5 countries, 3,000 children, 47 schools, tournament winners in 3 national competitions. Donors start noticing, real ones. A documentary crew from the BBC comes to film the Accra program. A journalist calls Daniel the most effective grassroots educator in West Africa. He smiles at the camera. The same smile Dr. Marchand uses to close contracts. But in 2009, something shifts. A new anti-corruption unit in Kenya, funded ironically by the same Scandinavian donors whose money Daniel had redirected, starts auditing infrastructure disbursements. They find a pattern. Payments to a Geneva institute that no Swiss financial registry can confirm exists. They pull on the thread. The first school hears nothing for weeks. Then one Tuesday morning, the teachers arrive and Daniel isn't there. He's always there at 7 a.m. His phone rings out. His guest house room is empty. A single chessboard left on the bed, pieces arranged mid-game. No note. The children wait in the courtyard for 2 hours before someone tells them to go home. Investigation. Interpol gets involved in early 2010. They are, by all accounts, baffled. Not by the complexity of the fraud, by the simplicity. One man, no network, no technology beyond a forwarding phone service and a P.O. box. 12 governments, 14 separate negotiations, $200 million redirected over 11 years. They traced the Zurich P.O. box to a mail service company, the email addresses to a server in Luxembourg, the phone numbers to a routing service in Amsterdam. All legal, all untraceable to a single individual without months of cross-border legal cooperation. What they cannot trace, not initially, is where the money went. Because it didn't go anywhere suspicious. It went to a school roof, chessboards, teacher salaries, scholarship funds registered as legitimate local charities. The financial trail doesn't lead to a criminal. It leads to 3,000 children who can now think 12 moves ahead. Resolution. Daniel Osei is found in 2013, not by Interpol, by a journalist following up on the BBC documentary. He is in a village outside Tamale, northern Ghana, teaching chess to 11 children.